Hello, hello. All right, I am logged in and just getting set up for my Facebook Live that starts here in 5 minutes. Looks like we've got a couple people logging in. I'm on my laptop. I'm trying to see where it shows me the names of who's logged in. I haven't used Facebook Live in a while, and there's like it looks different than it used to. We'll be starting here in about 4 minutes. So until then, I'm just going to get all my stuff set up. Oh, hey, Monica. All right, I see it on my screen now. Yeah, as you guys are logging in, if you'll just comment so I can see who's on. And then for those of you that are on right now, so I'm doing a Facebook Live, starts at noon. So this is just kind of an informal to answer any questions that you guys have about the home buying process, about getting financing. I'll give some information about how to get down payment assistance. So as you're logging in, if you have some specific questions in mind that you would like me to answer, just type them into the comment box so I can see them. And I'll just kind of go down the list as I get questions and answer them. And if you don't have specific questions, you're welcome to just tune in and listen. Hey, Olivia, how are you? Everybody enjoy the snow yesterday? I know we were so excited to see all that. It was like a once in a lifetime Waco event to get that much snow. And I'm looking at my window right now. There's still tons of it outside. I know it's going to be melting over the next couple of days, but very cool to get all that snow. Looks like we got a few more people logging in. I'll give it about 2 more minutes and then I will get started. For those of you that have just logged in the last minute or two, if you have specific questions about home buying, if you will type those in to the comment box so that way I can see them pop up on my screen here, and then I will just kind of answer them one by one. If you don't have any specific questions, I have a few questions that I got earlier in the week, so I will run through those. And if I don't get any other questions, I will just kind of talk and run down the home buying process, give some information on how to get financing. But feel free to ask any questions in the comment box. Just type those in there and I'll answer them one by one. All right, gonna give it 1 more minute and then I will give my formal introduction, let you guys know who I am if you don't already know. It's like we've got 11 people on right now, 13. Cool. I'm excited. I've been excited to do this. I've never done a Facebook Live Q&A. I've done some really informal Facebook Lives where I just log in and just kind of give some random information, but I've never done an interactive one like this. I did a couple of home buyer workshops last year, and then COVID hit, and then kind of had to put those things on hold. So I thought this would be a good way to socially distance, but still be able to be interactive, to talk back and forth with interested home buyers, just to give some information. And of course, this will be recorded, so once the live is done, anybody can go back to my business page at any time and watch the Facebook Live, look at the comments. So I'm excited to do this, and I'm actually, if it goes well today, I'm planning on maybe doing this every couple of weeks, maybe each time doing a different topic. I'll do one for home sellers, maybe do one that's geared towards veterans, just kind of have some different topics to discuss. I'd like to do one soon where I actually bring on a lender with me to talk in depth about credit, how to do credit repair, or what kind of credit you need to buy a home, because that's a question I get very frequently. So I'm going to get started here. It's 12 o'clock. So my name is Trish Minshew. I am a realtor with Coldwell Banker Apex in Waco, Texas. I've been in real estate about 2.5 years. Absolutely love it. I've been in Waco my entire life. I grew up in Hewitt, Midway graduate. So I've been here forever. Know the Waco area very well. And as you all know, real estate has just been blowing up in Waco the last few years. We've been seeing record sales. Interest rates have been really low. So just the last couple of years, it's been a really good time for people to buy homes in the area. And so what I do is I help buyers and I help sellers who are looking to get into real estate here in the area. So if you need to sell a home, if you need to buy a home, I do both of those. But this Facebook Live today is specifically geared towards people who are looking to purchase a home, and probably most of the people that are watching today are first-time home buyers. So that's what this Q&A is going to be about today, is really to give some basic information on home buying for people that have never done it before, or maybe if you've bought a home and it's been many years and you're just, you need to freshen up on how the process goes. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about a little bit about how to get financing, what you need to do to do that. So I'm going to scroll through. I've got one question typed in so far. Hey, Chris. Hey, Vanessa. I think before I get started answering questions, and I'll give a few more minutes for some more people to log in and type in some questions if they have them. I first became a homeowner. It's been about 8 years ago. We bought our first home, decided we wanted to buy a home, and like a lot of people, just kind of got tired of renting, felt like we were throwing our money away. We knew that we were going to stay in the area a long time. So we're like, okay, it's time to buy a home. We're in our early 30s. We're like, we should have bought one already, but now's the time. Better late than never. So we went and talked to an agent and a lender, and my credit was terrible. It was like in the low 500s. And so I was like, oh, what are we going to do? Back then, and then even now, most loans, typically you're going to need at least a 620 credit score to qualify for a mortgage. And there's other qualifications, but that's one of the key things. You've got to have at least a 620 credit score. And it was the same deal back then. And I was like, I'm like more than 100 points away from that. What am I going to do? So luckily, my lender was great and paired us with a credit specialist who sat down with me and pulled my credit report and went through everything that was on it. And they're like, okay, you're going to have to pay this off. You're going to have to dispute this since it's not yours there. And so what I've always been very passionate about is first time buyers who need credit repair, because I went through that myself. So it took about 6 months, but working with this really great lender and credit specialist, I was able to get my score up in 6 months to where it needed to be so that we could buy our first home. And it's so tough because there's just not a lot of information out there about what goes into your goes into your credit score, or what you can do to make it go up or down. I feel like it's really easy for your score to drop, but not so easy to make it go up. And so I really only refer out mortgage lenders who will work with buyers. Well, first of all, first time buyers, and then buyers who may need credit repair, because I know that's a very significant need. And if you don't have anybody that's willing to sit down and help you and tell you what you need to know, how are you going to know? So anyway, so got my credit up and was able to buy my first home about 8 years ago, and sold it and bought another one since. So it's great being a home buyer. I mean, it's there's not so great things that come along with it. Like when something breaks, it's on you. You don't have a landlord to fix things for you. But at the end of the day, you spend less money when you own a home, because you're paying your mortgage, you're paying your homeowner's insurance, you're paying your property taxes. When you're renting, you're paying those things, but you're also paying your landlord's profit. They're always marking it up so that they can make a profit off of you. I mean, that's why they do what they do. So when you're able to buy a home, it's yours and you're building equity. And basically that just means that the home that you own, it's increasing in value over time. Real estate has always been one of the best investments because it increases in value. So you buy a home today for $200,000, and in 5 years, it may be worth $250,000. Or the way the market's going in Waco, maybe a lot more than that. And so there's a couple of different things you can do with that. You know, if you buy a home and you're planning on staying there forever, you can borrow off of that equity. So let's say you're in your house 5 years, you've got some equity built up. You can actually take out a home equity loan and use that money to make repairs to your home, or you can use it to go on a vacation. So you can borrow from the equity that's built up in your investment in your home that you own. And then also you buy a home, and several years from now, if you decide, okay, I need a bigger home, or I need to move to a different town, or whatever the reason, you're able to sell that home, and then you can make what you've put into it. So where when you're renting and you move, you basically lost all that money that you put into it. But when you own a home, when you sell, you've got that equity built up. I'll just use my personal home as an example. The home I live in right now is in Lorena, and bought it for $145,000 about, it's been almost 4 years ago. I will probably be putting it on the market and moving somewhere else in about a year. I'll stay in Waco, but just moving to a different home. Right now, if I put my home on the market, I could sell it for 200, which is nuts to see that much appreciation in just a short few years. But that's the way the market's been in Waco. It's just, this has been a very desirable place for people to live. You guys know Chip and Joanna kind of put us on the map. So we've got people coming out of the woodworks from California and all over the place moving here. And so it's made property values increase at a higher rate than normal. So if you own a home and you need to sell, that's great because it boosts your value way up. I'm going to stop talking about me, and I'm going to see what questions we have right here. Okay, I'm going to start. Chris Bailey asks, he says he's interested to know what home features are trending for buyers right now. So features that are always going to be important are going to be mainly in your kitchen. They always say that kitchens sell a home. And for the last at least 5, 6, 7 years, granite countertops have been the thing. But now we're seeing a trend towards granite's still a good feature to have in your home. If you don't have granite and you're wanting to put value into your home, that's definitely better than having like Formica or laminate countertops. But we're seeing more marble countertops, quartz, concrete, or some changes that we're seeing. We're also seeing more colors in cabinets. So where, like for your wood cabinets, for many years you were just seeing like the browns, the dark browns, whites and grays have been popular for several years. Now we're seeing more like blues and greens, like cabinets like this color. Definitely not for everybody, but we're definitely starting to see more colorful tones in kitchen cabinets, bathroom cabinets, things like that. And then flooring's a big deal. I had a friend message me this morning. They've been thinking about selling their home, and they've got carpet in their living room. And most buyers nowadays are not going to want carpet in living areas. Usually okay to keep that in the bedrooms, but in your living areas, you're going to want to go with like a wood flooring, a laminate, something that has a wood look to it. It's just so much easier to keep clean. If you've got kids and pets, you know, carpet stains, and it's just hard to keep it clean. It gets dingy looking after a while. So definitely if you want to add value to your home, and just from a maintenance standpoint too, putting some kind of flooring in your living areas and entryways is definitely the way to go over carpet. So those are some of the main trends that I'm seeing right now. Let's see. Christina says, I'm looking for answers. I don't know where to start. I would be a first-time home buyer. Okay, so this is probably the most common comment that I receive from first-time buyers is I just don't know where to start. I want to buy a home, but I don't know how to get started with the process. So what I always recommend is go talk to a realtor or a lender. You can start with one, you can start with the other. You're going to need both. If you're buying a home, you've got to have a realtor that's working for you, and you've got to have a good lender that's helping you with your financing. Unless you're a cash buyer, then you don't need a lender. But most people, they've got to finance the purchase of the home. So start with one of those. I'm going to say start with a realtor because that's me, um, because I can point you to a lender that will offer what you need. Not every mortgage lender is the same. I really work with, try my best to work with local ones that are here in the Waco area. You can go to a bank to get a mortgage. You can go to a credit union to get a mortgage. You can go to an online lender like Quicken Loans or Rocket Mortgage. But there are local mortgage lenders who specialize in home loans, and that's all they do day in and day out. And I've got a short list of ones that I recommend out that'll be able to look at your exact financial situation. They're going to look at your credit scores, your credit reports. They're going to be able to tell you, okay, either you qualify now, and here's how much you qualify for, or they're going to tell you, okay, well, you don't qualify now, but here are the steps that you need to take to get to the point where you need to qualify. In some cases, I'll have buyers where their credit score meets the minimum, but they're carrying too much debt. One of the things that is a requirement when you're buying a home, there's something called your debt to income ratio, and that's just how much money you're bringing in on a monthly basis versus how much money you have going out in recurring debts. And so that would be things like student loan payments, credit card payments, auto loan payments. So those are your recurring debts. And if your debts, if the percentage exceeds what the max is for the loan, a lot of them, the maximum is about 45%. It's going to vary depending on the type of loan that you're getting. But if your debt to income ratio is too high, you won't qualify. So sometimes a lender will recommend that you make a couple extra payments on your car loan to pay down the balance, or pay those credit card balances down. So there's different things that'll be recommended. But again, going back to the question, which is where do you start? Start by talking to a real estate professional, a realtor who is going to be able to point you to a lender who can help you get pre-qualified for a loan. And then that realtor is going to interview you, not interview, but have a consultation with you and find out exactly what your goals are. Where do you want to live? Is there a certain school district? What features are you looking for in the home? Hi, Kathy. I'm on a Facebook Live. Everybody say hi to Kathy. This is our broker. Oh, and she's bringing me my t-shirt.
What is that?
Listing agent. My broker thinks I'm kind of a big deal. Thank you, Kathy. All right, so where was I? Back to, okay, talking to a real estate professional as a first-time home buyer. That realtor is going to find out exactly what you want in a home so that they can narrow down a search for you. Now, anybody that's ever bought a home or has thought about buying a home, you're going to go to Zillow, you're going to go to realtor.com, you're going to go to the different websites and look at homes. I mean, let's all, even when you don't, even when you're not trying to buy a home, it's fun looking at those websites to see what's out there. So, but as a realtor, I have access to the MLS, which is where agents list properties that are for sale. So I have the ability to go in and create a specific search for you, the home buyer, based on all the criteria that you're looking for in a home: price, location, size. If you want something with acreage, we can put in a lot size. There's lots of different parameters that we can put in, so that we can narrow down a search and keep an eye on homes that fit exactly what you're looking for. And the good thing about doing that is when I set you up on a property search, you get instant notifications as soon as a house hits the market that matches what you're looking for. And in this market, that's really important because y'all probably seen certain parts of town, certain price points, homes sell really, really fast. There's a lot of areas around here where a house hits the market and within a day or two it's under contract. And there's a lot of people that are looking to buy homes, and you've got areas where you've got multiple people bidding on homes. And so it's really important that you have a realtor that is able to identify very quickly when a home hits the market that matches what you're looking for, and that's able to jump and schedule a time for you to see that house and put in an offer as soon as possible if you decide you want that house. That's very important, having an agent that does it full time. There's a lot of great agents in Waco. There's over 1,000 realtors in Waco. So you don't have any shortage of agents who can work for you, but I'm going to recommend that you work with one that's a full-time agent, that's able to dedicate the time to you that you need to make sure you get a place that's right for your family and that you don't miss out on that great house that is going to probably sell really quickly. All right, let's see. Christine also says she's over 600 on her score. She's like a 640. That's great. So you may qualify now to purchase a home. So actually, for any of you guys that are watching right now, if you are serious about buying a home this year and you would like some information on lenders that will work with first-time home buyers, if you will put your email address into the comment box, I will send out emails later today to everybody that is on today that wants some information. So I'll send you some more information about home buying, and I'll send you a list of my lenders that I work with who can get you pre-qualified. So make sure to give me your email address if you're interested in that. Yes, Christina, I am in Waco. I'm sitting in my office right now that's at the corner of Waco Drive and Valley Mills at the Coldwell Banker office. Yep, office out of Waco. I do work, I tell people I work pretty much all of McLennan County. Waco, Hewitt, Robinson, China Spring, Woodway, and then I can go further out to, I've sold property in Groesbeck, Whitney, Coppers Cove. So I'll go a little bit outside of McLennan County, but if you're looking to buy anything that's in and around the Waco area, I'll go about an hour radius outside of Waco. All righty, let's see what else. Man Cunningham. Hey, I know you. We've chatted before. You're looking to buy a home, and a lot has happened since we last spoken. All right, man. Well, you need to get with me. Send me a text. I think you've got my number. We'll get together again and kind of revisit where you guys are at and get started on the process for sure. I'd love to help. Melissa says, Trish is the best. Love working with her. Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate that. Okay, Vanessa's got a good question here. Who pays the realtor commission fees? So in almost every instance, the seller of the home that you're buying is going to pay the realtor fees. So in a typical real estate transaction, the seller has an agent and the buyer has an agent. And in the state of Texas, agents can work with both sides, but it's really best when you're a buyer to have your own buyer's agent working for you. A lot of times a buyer's looking at homes and they'll call the agent whose name is on the sign in the yard or whose name is on Zillow is the listing agent. That agent is working for the seller. And because of real estate rules and laws, they can't fully represent the seller and represent you as well. Now they will work with you and they'll show you the home and they'll write up an offer for you and they'll help you with the transaction process, but they cannot negotiate on your behalf. They cannot look out for your best interest because they already have a contract where they've committed to doing that for the seller. So when you're wanting to buy a home, you need a different agent than the one that's on the sign that will represent you and negotiate on your behalf and work on your behalf. Now, just about every agent in Waco and anywhere works with buyers and sellers, and I do the same. I list homes for sale. You'll see signs in yards occasionally with my name on it, and I'm working for that seller. But I also work with buyers too. So again, to answer the question, the seller's agent, or I'm sorry, the seller is the one that pays for the real estate commission for both agents. They sign what's called a listing agreement between the seller of the home and that seller's agent. And the seller agrees to pay a commission, and then that agent agrees to split that commission 50-50 with the buyer's agent. So as a home buyer, you don't have any out-of-pocket costs as far as your realtor. And I'll get into a little bit more about what costs you do have when you're buying a home. I see a question right here that pertains to that. Christina asks, so their first-time home buyer programs. Yeah, I'm going to get to that in just a minute. I'm going to answer Vanessa's question. She says, what is earnest money? Okay, so this goes into what expenses do you have when you're buying a home. I tell everybody that in addition to saving up for a down payment, you need to have at a bare minimum about $2,000 to $3,000 saved up. And here's what that's for. When you make an offer on a home and you put it under contract, one of the first things that you have to do is pay what's called an earnest money deposit. think of that as like when you're renting a place and you have to pay a security deposit. It's very similar to that. And what the earnest money does, it's held in an account at the title company. It doesn't go directly to the seller, but what it does is it lets the seller know that you're serious about purchasing a home. It lets them know, you're willing to put some skin in the game, because they're taking a risk by accepting your contract and taking their home off the market and allowing you to buy that home and go through the purchase process. And there are times when a property goes under contract and then for different reasons the contract falls through and the buyer isn't able to complete the purchase. And in some instances, the seller is actually allowed to keep that earnest money deposit. So what that deposit is it just, again, it holds that home for you, the home buyer, while you have it under contract. It lets the seller know that you're serious and you're committed to buying that home. And it serves sort of as a security deposit for the seller, if there's different reasons that would, um, result in the seller keeping that money. But um, there's a clause in the purchase contract that's called the option period that actually, as a home buyer, if something came up in inspections or you changed your mind, there's a certain period of time where you're actually able to back out of that contract. And in those cases, you get your earnest money back. Um, Now, exactly how much do you have to pay in earnest money? It's a blank in the contract, and your agent can write any number in there. Typically, what we see is about half of 1% of the sale price of the home is what you're putting up for earnest money. So if you're buying a $200,000 house, you're going to put up about $1,000 in earnest money, or you can put up 1,500. Um, some people will just write in a full 1%. So some people, if you're buying a $200,000 house, you'll put up $2,000 in earnest money, and just know that that money actually goes towards the sale price of the house. So when you close on the purchase, that money that you put up in earnest money, it's credited toward the sales price. It's not in addition to it. It's part of that. Um, so that's one of your upfront expenses that you have when you're buying a home. There's three. You're going to have your earnest money, which we just talked about. You're going to have your option fee, which is $100 fee that you pay right when you go under contract. And that's what I talked about a few minutes ago. You have your option period, and it's usually the first 10 days of the contract. And what that option fee does is it gives you the option to terminate that contract for any reason whatsoever, um, within that first 10 days. You can just change your mind. You may find another house that you love better. Something may come up in the home inspection, like some serious issue with the house, and we're not able to work it out with the sellers and their agent. And so, anyway, that $100 gives you the option to back out during that time period, and you don't get that $100 back, but it's a protection for you, the buyer, so that when you do put a property under contract, it's scary buying your first home. I mean, you're spending a lot of money on that house. It's a big commitment. So I've had people that, they put a house under contract and then, they get to day 5, day 6, and they're just like, we're getting cold feet. We don't feel like this is the one. We don't feel like this is the right time. We found out in inspections that the house needs a new roof, and we're not willing to take on that expense. There's a lot of different reasons, but that option period and that option fee gives you the protection. So in that first 10 days, if you change your mind and want to get out of it, you can, and you can get that earnest money deposit back. And so those are your upfront expenses, your earnest money deposit, your option fee. Your third one is your home inspection. So that is up by our expense. A home inspection is not a requirement, but it's strongly recommended, because you can walk through a house and look at it and kind of visually see some things that are going on. But there's a lot of things with a home that you really can't see until you get a home inspector who gets in there and, walks around on top of the roof and gets in the attic and tests out the AC and tests out the electrical. And so you want to have a home inspection done so you know everything that's going on with that house so that you can decide, do I want to move forward with this purchase? Or do I want to go back to the seller and maybe ask them to make some repairs before I close on the purchase of the property? So that's why having a home inspection is very, very much recommended. And I've even seen in brand new construction homes, issues come up during inspections that need to be taken care of. So it's just, when you're making that kind of investment, when you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, or even if you're buying an $80,000 home, you still want to have that protection of knowing, okay, what's going on with this house? What needs to be fixed? It gives you some peace of mind having that inspection report going into it, knowing exactly what you're getting into. All right, let me scroll through here. Please type in any other questions. Haven't seen any new ones pop up. If any of you guys have questions, please put them in the comment box here. In the meantime, I've got some questions that I received earlier in the week from an interested buyer, so I'm going to go through her questions. Her first one was, she said, if I want to buy a home and get into it by May, late spring, she said, when should I start looking? If you've never bought a home before and you've never talked to a lender and you're wanting to get into a home by late spring, early summer, I'd say now is really the best time to get with a lender. So first of all, you can find out, do you qualify right now? And if you don't, that gives you that little bit of time to work on the things that you need to get qualified, whether it's getting your credit score up a little bit or getting your debt to income ratio down a little bit. Once you are at that point where you're qualified or very close to being qualified, you can come to me or whatever realtor you choose and start shopping for homes. And how long it takes to find a home really just depends on what's on the market at the time, what you're looking for. I've had buyers where we've literally looked at one house and they're like, this is it. This is the one we want to buy. Let's make an offer. I've had clients where we've looked at 30 to 35 houses. Sometimes they have a broader range of what might be a good fit for them. They might want something like this, but they might want something like this. So we kind of look at everything in between and then kind of narrow it down. Um, I've had a handful of families that I've worked with for the last 2 years and just kind of on and off been kind of keeping an eye on the market to see what, if something comes up that's a good fit for them. But typically, I'd say once we really get serious and get out there and start shopping and looking at homes in person, usually within 1 to 2 months, you find what you want. And, you get to that point where you're ready to make an offer on something. And then this kind of leads into her next question, which was, how long does it take to close on a home? So once you start looking at homes, your agent's going out there and showing you properties and giving you information on the homes that you're looking at. Once you find the one that you love that you want to make an offer on, you make an offer and your realtor helps you with that. The buyer's agent puts that offer together for you, submits it to the seller's agent. Once your offer gets accepted, you're looking at about 30 to 45 days from the time you get that property under contract until you close. And what closing is, that's the day that you go into the title company, you sign papers, you hand over your check for your down payment and your closing costs, and you get the keys to the house and it's yours. So it really depends on the type of loan that you're using and the lender that you're using. Those are the big deciding factors on how long it takes to close. But generally, I will say 30 to 45 days from the time that you get the property under contract until you move in and the property is yours. The other questions that I had were, let's see, what's the first thing to do before buying a home? That just kind of goes back to one of the other questions that was asked that I think Christina asked, was just kind of, where do I start? Start by talking to a real estate professional, talk to a realtor, talk to a lender. If you don't know of a good lender, realtors can recommend some to you, or, ask your friends, if you have friends or coworkers or family members that have bought a home before, talk to them and find out, what agent have they used that they were happy with? What mortgage lender have they used that they were happy with? We make a lot of our purchasing decisions based on reviews and, what we hear from other people. So that's always a good way, if you don't know of anybody else. But they say that everybody knows at least 10 realtors. I know a bunch because I work with a bunch of them, but even before I got into real estate, I knew a good amount of them. So we're not hard to find, but sometimes it is hard to find a good one. So definitely talk to friends and family and coworkers that have purchased homes before, to get recommendations on good ones. Or you can just come to me. That really saves you time if you just come to me, because I'd be happy to help. I'm a full-time real estate agent. Like I said, I've been doing it for 2.5 years. Absolutely love what I do. I probably work a little bit too much. I work every day, but I love it. It doesn't feel like work to me. I love helping people. I really have a passion for working with first-time home buyers. I love the education side of the process and being able to answer questions and just kind of walk them through the process and hold their hand, and just the excitement that you see from families when they're buying their first home, and when they get to closing day and they're signing and they're getting the keys and everybody's happy and hugging. It's just, I love that moment. It's very fulfilling and rewarding to be able to help somebody get from that starting point where it's like, oh, I need to buy a house, but I don't know what to do, to walk through that process and get to the end where they're getting those keys and that house is theirs, and it's like they're doing that for their family. To put a foundation, put roots somewhere, and have that investment for their family. It's just, I love doing it. So anyway, I got off a tangent, but that would be my recommendation. Just before you start the home buying process, talk to a realtor and a lender, because you're going to need both. The other question that was sent to me was, if my credit is good, then what do I do next? Talk to a lender. And I will talk a little bit about, I'm not going to get too deep into credit because that's really the lender's area. I'm not a licensed lender. I'm a licensed realtor, so I can help you buy a house, but I'm not going to help you with the financing. That's what the lenders do. But as I said earlier in the Facebook Live, typically most loans and most lenders are looking for at least a 620 credit score. So if you have that, you have a lot of the difficult part out of the way. But again, they're also going to look at your debt to income ratio. And let me back up. Let me talk about what documents you're going to have to provide to get pre-qualified. So when you contact a lender and say, okay, I need to get pre-qualified for a home loan, I want to buy a loan, they're going to ask you for proof of income. You're going to have to submit at least the last 2 months worth of pay stubs. You're going to have to submit the last 2 years of tax returns. So if you have not filed your taxes in the last couple of years, you will not be able to buy a home until you've done that, because they're going to have to see 2 years of tax returns. So 2 months of income, proof of income, pay stubs, 2 years of tax returns, and then 2 months of bank statements. So they're looking at all three of those things as proof of what your income is. So you're going to need to provide those. And then obviously you're going to have to give them your social security number, because they're going to pull your credit. And most of you probably know there's 3 credit scores that you have. There's Equifax, there's Experian, and there's TransUnion. So there's 3 credit companies that develop what's called a FICO score, credit score for you. And the 3 scores are always different. They're never the same, because different creditors report to one credit company but not the other 2, or vice versa. And so you're always going to have 3 credit scores. And so the lender is going to look at all 3 of those credit scores, and your middle score is what's going to be your qualifying score. So let's say you've got a 600, a 618, and a 670. That 670 sounds great, right? Like, oh, I qualify, I only need a 620. Well, no, but your middle score is 618. So you've got to get that one up to a 620. And it doesn't matter which company the middle score is with. It's just they're going to look at your high, your middle, and low, and that middle score is your qualifying score. So if you've got a 600, a 630, and a 670, that 630 is your middle score. So that's your qualifying score. So that's what the lenders are looking at. They're looking at credit scores. They're looking at your credit report. If you've had a bankruptcy, it depends on the loan type, but I think it has to have been at least 2 years since your bankruptcy has discharged before you can buy a home. There are some exceptions to that, but in most cases, it has to have been at least 2 years since you filed, or I'm sorry, not since you filed, but since the bankruptcy has discharged, before you can qualify to get a mortgage. Let's see, what else can I answer regarding credit? Give me some questions, guys, if you've got questions about credit and credit scores. Again, I'm not a lender, but I can answer based on what I've learned selling houses over the last couple of years, and what I know from my personal experience as well. But those are the things that you're going to have to provide to the lender is your proof of income. They're going to look at your credit score, your credit report. They're going to use all that information and they're going to make a determination based on loan. There's loan regulations. So a lender can't just say, okay, well, you qualify because I like you, and you don't qualify because I don't. No, there are federal lending requirements that they have to go off of. And so there's set information they pull from you, they put it into their system, and then it comes back and says, okay, well, based on this information, either you qualify now or you don't. So when you apply with the lender, they're going to take those documents from you and look at all that information and determine if you qualify to buy your home or not. But once you do have that pre-qualification in place, they'll actually send you a letter. They'll email you a letter, and send it to your realtor too, because your realtor needs it. And it says, congratulations, you're qualified to purchase a home up to X amount of dollars. So your agent has to have that before you can make an offer on a home, because a seller and their agent will not accept an offer without proof that you're pre-qualified to buy a home. Otherwise, just anybody can make offers on homes, put it under contract. No, they've got to make sure that you're pre-qualified, that you've gone through that process with the lender, to ensure that you're able to qualify for that loan. And the pre-qualification process, it's pretty quick and painless. It's a short set of questions that you answer. Usually once you get that information to the lender, they can come back with your pre-qualification answer within 24 hours. It's usually a pretty quick turnaround if you're working with a good local lender. Okay, let me go back over here and see if I've gotten any other questions in. Not yet. Just make sure, as I mentioned earlier, if you are interested in home buying, whether it's in the next month or the next year or whenever, and if you want just more information on buying a home, and specifically on lenders that you can talk to, that are great for first-time home buyers, if you will drop me your email address in the comment box, I will email some information out later today for everybody that wants some. So you know who to go to start the pre-qualification process. We got another question here. Chris asks, generally, what percentage down payments have you seen lenders requesting for first time and second home purchases? Okay, that is a very good question. Okay, so typically most first time buyers are going to qualify for what's called an FHA loan. This is often referred to as a first time buyer loan, which that's not exactly what it is. But most first-time buyers will end up doing an FHA loan because A, it's easier to qualify for that than it is for other types of loans, and B, it has a low down payment requirement. So the down payment on an FHA loan is going to be 3.5% of the purchase price of the home. So just use your calculator. If you're buying a $150,000 house, times 3.5%, that's how much your down payment would be. And I'll just go over quickly what the other loan types are. So there's an FHA loan, there's a VA loan, which you have to be a military veteran to qualify for that. There's a USDA loan. Now USDA is another government-backed loan, and that's actually, it's for not every home. You can't use a USDA loan on any type of home. It has to be homes that are in what they call rural areas. There's quite a few areas around Waco where you could purchase a home with a USDA loan. And the attractive thing about a USDA loan is it's a zero down. You do not have to have a down payment on a USDA loan. And if you're a veteran with a VA loan, that one's also zero down. So a good zero down option if you're not a veteran would be a USDA loan. However, you cannot buy a home within the city of Waco with a USDA loan. You have to buy something that's in an area that's either considered outside city limits or in smaller rural communities. There's parts of Robinson that qualify for USDA financing, Lacey Lakeview. If y'all are familiar with the Spiegelville area, Spiegelville is not really a city, but it's south of Lake Waco. Some people refer to it as Woodway, some as Waco. It has the Woodway and Waco zip code. But anything that's Spiegelville, that's not in city limits. So anything that's out there qualify for USDA financing. But anyway, that's a zero down loan. And then the other loan type you'll hear about is a conventional loan. So conventional just means that it's not any one of those other loan types. And with a conventional loan, typically you're required to put 5% down, but I have seen some cases for first time buyers where they qualified for conventional with 3% down. Um, so it really just depends on what your situation is. The lender has to look at everything in your financial picture, again, your income, your debt to income ratio, your credit score, and they'll take all that information and tell you what's the best loan type for you. Now, that being said, if they qualify you for an FHA loan that says you've got to put 3.5% down, okay, well, what if you don't have that money saved up? Well, the first thing you can do is you can just take some time and set that money aside and save it up. However, the state of Texas has several first time buyer grant programs. And if you qualify, and a lot of people that are first time buyers that qualify for the FHA loan, they also qualify for these grant programs. They're also referred to as down payment assistance. If you qualify for one of those grants, it will cover your down payment for you. So even though your FHA loan says you've got to put 3.5% down, if you qualify for that grant, it will cover that 3.5% for you. And in addition to that, those grants will also cover a portion of your closing costs. So again, I work with lenders who offer these programs because I know that it's a need. I like working with first time buyers. A lot of times, you've got the income, you've got the good credit, but you just don't have $10,000 saved up to put towards a down payment and closing costs. And so that's why the state offers these grants. It's free grant money if you qualify. There is a home buyer education course that you have to take if you're doing. There's probably 5 or 6 different grant programs. It kind of depends on which one the lender offers, but most of them require you to take a home buyer education course online as part of the qualification. But if you do that, then your down payment's covered, part of your closing costs are covered. And let me talk a little bit, excuse me, I'm burping, sorry. Let me talk a little bit about closing costs. So that's one of these things. It's like you hear that term thrown around a lot. It's like, okay, what are closing costs? How much are they? What am I paying here? So closing costs are fees that you pay at closing when you get to the title company and you're signing your papers to get your house and you're getting the keys. Before you get the keys, you've got to hand over a check for the total of your closing costs and your down payment. And so closing costs it's an array of fees that some of them are going to the lender, some of them are going to the title company. Closing costs also include prepaid homeowners insurance. When you're buying a house, you have to pay for that first 12 months of homeowners insurance upfront. And then going forward, your mortgage payments include that homeowners insurance. But you have to pay for it as what's called a prepaid. So that's part of your closing costs is your first year of homeowners insurance. And then also another prepaid that's part of your closing costs is going to be upfront property taxes. Usually they're going to collect about 3 months worth of prorated property taxes upfront. When you get a mortgage, part of your mortgage has something that's called an escrow account. And what that is when you're making your monthly payments on your home, your mortgage company is putting some of that money into an escrow account where that money is building up, and then at the end of the year they use what's in that escrow account to pay your property taxes and to pay your next year's homeowners insurance. And so anyway, when you first buy a house, they have to start that escrow account with some funds, so that's why some of that's collected up front. So to get an idea of the exact dollar amount of what your closing costs are going to be, typically it's 3 to 5% of the purchase price of the home. It's really difficult to calculate an exact amount. A lender will be able to do that. Like you can give them an exact address, and based on the type of loan that you're qualified for, what the property taxes are on that home, they can come back and tell you exactly what your closing costs are going to be. But once you're under contract to purchase a home, that's one of the things that your lender will do. They'll tell you up front. They'll be like, okay, here's how much your closing costs are going to be. What I generally see for let's say a home that's in the $150,000 to $200,000 purchase price range, which is a common price point for a first-time home buyer. I see anywhere from about $5,000 to $8,000 is what the closing costs come out to for homes in that price range. And so that's a number you can kind of have in mind. And then if you qualify for that down payment assistance, about half of that's going to be covered, about half of that closing cost amount. So what I do as a buyer's agent, when you find a house that you're ready to make an offer on, I negotiate to get the seller to pay some of your closing costs. So that's one of the things that you can do in a real estate transaction is ask the seller to cover some of your closing costs. And so if you're making a good offer, if the house has gone on the market and it's in good shape and you really love it and you're willing to pay what they're asking for it, it's not uncommon to say, okay, you're asking $200,000 for this house. I'm willing to pay that, but will you cover $4,000 of my closing costs? And often a seller will agree to do that. And that just helps you so that when you get to closing day, you have very little, if any, out-of-pocket costs. Now, do I recommend saving up money for a down payment and closing costs? Yes, absolutely, because there's no guarantee that you qualify for those grants. And the state at some point, funds may be limited. They may stop those programs altogether. I haven't heard of anything like that, but it's always good to have the money saved up for the 3.5% down payment, which again is the most common down payment percentage for a first-time buyer for an FHA loan. And then, like I said, plan for anywhere between $5,000 and $8,000 for closing costs. So if you have that set aside, then you're well prepared so that when you talk to a lender and get pre-qualified, if you don't qualify for the down payment assistance, then you have those funds and you'll have no problem purchasing the home and having the funds needed to get into it. All right, guys, we've got about 12, 13 minutes left before noon. I said I was going to go for an hour. So before we wrap up, is there any other questions that I can help you guys with? I feel like I just rambled a little bit. I asked some specific questions, or I answered some specific questions, but then I just kind of talked a little bit about things that came to mind. So is there anything else you guys can think of that you would like to know about the home buying process? Just type it in the comment box. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. There was a comment up here I'll address. It wasn't really a question. But somebody said, it's kind of scary. I've been working on my credit and paying my debt to ratio off, or I guess trying to pay it down. I'm trying really hard. I guess here as we're about to wrap up, I'll just offer some encouragement. It is scary buying a home, and it can be very frustrating when you want to buy a home, like the desire's there. You're working, you're saving up money, you talk to a lender and they're like, you don't qualify yet. Your debt to income ratio is too high. But they give you a plan and they tell you, okay, well, here's what you need to do. And it's hard, and especially in these times, this last year has been just off the charts ridiculous. And I know a lot of people have been out of work and have had hardships that maybe they didn't have to face before. And so money can be tight, and maybe you have a plan to buy a home and you've been planning to save and you had to dip into the savings because maybe you weren't working for a while, or you had to pay for childcare when you didn't have to before. So I know it can be really frustrating when you have a plan. You're like, I want to do this. I want to buy a house, and I'm trying to get there, but I just feel like I keep hitting these hurdles, and it's so hard. And I know, like, because I've been there. But I'll just say that, if owning a home is something that you really want for you and your family, you can do it. Like anybody can do it. Like you can do anything you put your mind to. It's just you've got to have that determination, and you've got to take the steps to get there. And there's going to be roadblocks. Like life happens, stuff comes up that you don't plan for. You're going to have emergencies. My car didn't start last night. My car had to get towed this morning to a shop, and so I'm going to have an expense in the next day or two that I didn't plan on, because my car may need a new starter. So I didn't plan on that happening. I'm going to have to dip into my savings to cover that car repair. So it happens to everyone. So I'll just say don't get discouraged. Um, if you want to buy a home, again, work with a real estate agent and a lender who are going to take the time to answer your questions, to give you the guidance you need, and have a circle of friends and family that are supportive of you. And even if they're not, um, if nothing else, your realtor and your lender will help you get where you want to be. Um, so I'll just offer that again as encouragement. If your lender has told you, you need to pay down these debts, you need to do that, just work at it little by little. Even if it takes, 6 months or a year or 2 years, however long it takes, if owning a home is your goal, just keep working at it and you'll get there. Um, I just think that, owning a home isn't for everybody. There's different times in life and different stages where it's not the right thing. If you're fresh out of college, if you don't know if you're going to stay in the area for the next couple of years, you may be moving out of state or wherever, then by all means, renting is probably the best thing for you to do. There's no sense in buying a home if you're going to have to turn around and sell it and move off in a year. Um, but if you want to buy and you want to stay somewhere for at least 2 or 3 years, it definitely makes sense to go down that road and make that investment, because even if it's not going to be your forever home, or if it's not even going to be your 5-year home, the fact that real estate has been one of the safest investments forever, because the price goes up. Um, you buy a car, and as soon as you drive it off the lot, the price goes down. It never increases in value, but real estate over time always, always, always increases in value. So that's why it's always referred to as an investment. You spend this money today on buying this home, and years down the road, whether you want to sell or you want to take some equity out of it, it will have grown in value, just because that's the nature of real estate. So I would encourage anybody that is interested in home buying. Maybe they've already made the decision that they want to buy a home and they're just working on the steps to get their credit up, or they're working on saving some money, or they're working on getting that debt to income ratio down. Whatever the case may be, just, if that's your goal to buy a home, just keep at it and you'll get there. We've got just a few more minutes left, so if there's not any more questions, I'll probably go ahead and wrap up a few minutes early. But I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that tuned in today. I really appreciate you guys taking the time during your lunch hour to log on and ask questions and listen to me chat about home buying. If there is ever anything that I can do for you guys, let me know. I am going to put my cell phone number and my email address in the comments right now. So you guys are welcome to grab that information, and you can call or text me anytime or shoot me an email. So I'm putting that in right here, so feel free to get that. You can always go to my Facebook business page. My contact information is there. I have a website as well. It's www.trishminshew.com. Easy to remember. It's just my name. Contact information is there. So I'll just kind of wrap up by saying, if you're interested in home buying, I would love to help you. Whether you're just kind of starting to figure out when the timing might be right, or if you're like, I know I want to buy a home and I want to buy one in the next 6 months, or I want to buy one in the next 3 months, just feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to sit down and have we can do a face-to-face visit. We can do a Zoom, like video call like this, phone call, whatever works for you guys. I love texting. Texting's cool too. Shoot me your questions that way. But if your goal is to own a home, and especially in the next year, contact me and let's sit down and let's have a chat so I can learn exactly what it is that you need in a home: location, price, features, what are your goals, and then we'll get the process started to get you there. Again, it does not cost you anything at all to have a buyer's agent working for you. I'm not going to charge you for meetings. I'm not a lawyer. I don't nickel and dime you for my time. So happy to sit down with you and visit and answer your questions and find out what your needs are and get the process started. Again, one last time, if you want more information on lenders that can get you pre-qualified for first-time buyer programs, and whether that be the loans or the grants that offer the down payment assistance, if you will leave your email address in the comments here before I log off, and I will send you that information later today. Let's see, I've got a couple, so I need to make sure I get those. All right, guys. Well, just got a couple minutes left before 1 o'clock. Again, thank you guys so much for logging on. And again, I will probably make this a regular thing. This is the first Facebook Live Q&A that I've done. Got a good turnout today. I think at one point I had close to 20 people logged on. And of course, anybody can tune in later. It's going to save the video and post it to my Facebook page, so anybody can come later and watch it, or you can share it with friends, family, whoever, let them check it out. But I'll probably plan on doing one. Let me just go ahead and say now, I'll do one on January 25th. So that'll be 2 weeks from now. And I will probably have a lender on at that point that can help answer some more in-depth, in-depth questions about credit. So we'll do that, and then I'll do one at some point that is specific to people that are looking to sell a home. So if you need to sell a home or know somebody that does, I'll put that information out on my page. I'll put it out there about a week or two before the Facebook Live to let you know it's coming and let you know what the topic is. So I'll do one for home sellers. I'll do one for veterans, military veterans that are looking to buy a home, so I can talk a little bit more about the loans specific to VA buyers. And there's also some property qualifications when you're buying, when you're a veteran that's buying a home. So anything else you guys think of that you would like me to answer, you can comment here. You can call me, text me, email me, leave a message on my Facebook page. But I just wanted to say thank you guys again for tuning in during your lunch hour to listen and get some information. I hope it's been helpful and you've learned a little bit more and feel comfortable sort of about the home buying process. If not, definitely reach out to me. I'd be happy to sit down and visit with you more and help you be on your way to buying a home. So I'm going to sign off. This is Trish Minshew with Coldwell Banker. Thanks again, guys. Have a great day and enjoy the snow before it melts. All right, guys. Thanks. Bye.